Log NF dash 283. Second reflection. Location: Richmond, Virginia. Date: January 4th, 2020. Time: 3:12 Eastern Standard Time. I'm not proud of this, but I used to talk to myself in the mirror when I was stressed. Growing up, my father always joked that if you say something to a mirror often enough, the mirror starts saying it back. But I chalked that up to Appalachian superstition. Life in a small Richmond apartment can feel like you're living inside a shoebox. So sometimes I'd stand in the bathroom, look at my own face, and say whatever I couldn't say out loud to anybody else. One night, I woke up around 3 with my heart racing. There was no logical reason. I hadn't had a nightmare. I just bolted upright with that prickly sense of being observed. The only light came from my street lamp outside, filtered through my cheap blinds. I lay there breathing through my nose, trying to slow down my pulse. After a minute, I got up to get a glass of water. As I passed the hallway, I glanced in the mirror. It's a cheap full-length mirror from Target, leaned against the wall. It reflected the dark outline of my bedroom door, the living room, the faint streetlight glow. It also reflected me, except it didn't. That me in the mirror was standing still, like the real me. She had the same messy bun, the same oversized t-shirt, but her eyes weren't on me. They were fixed on something over my shoulder. Her mouth was slightly open, as if she was listening intently. I froze. I turned my head to see what she was looking at and saw nothing but dark hallway. When I turned back, my reflection was normal, just me with wide eyes and a wet mouth from nerves. I laughed, a tiny, forced laugh, and chalked it up to sleepiness. A week later, it happened again. I was standing closer this time, flossing absent-mindedly. In the mirror, my reflected hands were moving slower than mine, almost dragging the floss between her teeth. Again, her eyes darted to something behind me. Though this time, whatever she saw seemed to move, because her pupils folded along the edge of the mirror. My back tingled. I ripped around and again saw nothing but my small hallway. When I looked back, my mirror self was just me, irritated with toothpaste foam on my chin. I started testing it. I'd stand with my back to the mirror and watch out from the corner of my eye. Sometimes when the room was quiet and the only sound was my refrigerator humming, the reflection would lag a second behind. It was subtle at first, a blink delayed, a tilt of the head that hadn't happened yet. But by late February, it was bolder. One afternoon, as I pulled on my jacket and glanced in the mirror, I saw myself already holding my keys in my reflection, while my real hand was empty. Mirror me lips moved. I couldn't hear her, but I could read enough. He's in your apartment. I ran. I don't know what I expected to see out there. I opened my door so forcefully that it slammed into the wall. The hallway was empty except for Mrs. Connor, 2 doors down, lugging her laundry basket. She looked startled. I mumbled something about a spider and slammed my own door. When I turned toward the mirror, my reflection looked like me again. This time, though, there was a small smear on the glass right where my mirror self's lips had been. I touched it. It was warm. I tried to ignore it. I really did. I taped fabric over my mirror like my grandmother used to when someone died. But I kept catching glimpses in my phone screen, in store windows. I'd walk past a glass front cafe and see me inside, seated at a table with someone I couldn't identify. My real body would be outside, alone, moving. The mirror me always looked at something over my shoulder. One time, she looked directly into her reflection's eyes and smiled, and her teeth had small gaps where mine didn't. In March, my building replaced the smoke alarms and a worker came in. He wore a utility belt and had smelled faintly of cigarettes. I stood in the bathroom doorway, feeling embarrassed that my mirror was covered like an old ghost. He told me he was with some agency subcontracted by the city. His badge said A.D.R.A, which didn't make sense to me at the time. He said he needed to check behind the mirror because there were reports of moisture causing issues with the wiring. I told him I didn't think there was a problem. He insisted. I stepped aside. He peeled the fabric away, and his face went blank. "Have you seen anything unusual?" he asked without looking at me. "What do you mean?" I asked, hands shaking. "Do you feel like you're being watched?" he asked. "Like something's mimicking you?" I nodded. He took out a small device that looked like a stud finder and ran it along the edges of the mirror. The screen lit up red. "It's active," he muttered. "We'll file a report." He gave me a phone number on a card that had been photocopied too many times. "Call this if anything happens, and don't smash any mirrors, no matter how tempted you are." I called, of course. The number rang twice, and then cut to a recorded message me, telling me to leave my name and log code. It said something about containment and observation, and mentioned my building by address. That night, I dreamed of a hallway lined with mirrors facing each other, reflecting reflections, infinite me's, some with slight differences, a scar, a missing tooth, a head turned just a fraction. One reached out of her mirror and placed her palm on the glass. I woke up with a bruise on my arm where she'd pressed. I don't know what to do. I still have the mirror. I know how. I keep it in the closet with a heavy cloth over it. I see my reflection in everything else, and it almost always acts as it should. But sometimes, when it's late and the building is quiet, the reflections tilt their heads in unison towards the closet door. I pretend I don't notice, tell myself it's fatigue, but I've started avoiding dark screens and reflective surfaces. I brush my teeth in the dark. My father's superstition is no longer funny. If I could move, I would, but mirrors are everywhere. And how do you run from yourself? Field log. Incident code MR-233. Cross-reference with mirror event reports from Cleveland. NE-058. In Des Moines, MW-102. End log. Anon log NF-623. Bathroom doppelganger. Source: anonymous message board post. Date: undated. Time: 2:00 local. It was around 11:50 in the morning when my sister told her 8-year-old to go wash up for lunch. She and I stayed in the kitchen, talking. I was holding her 2-year-old the whole time. 10 minutes later, we sat down to eat. She asked her son if he'd washed his hands. He said yes, and added, "You were with me, Mom. You saw me." That was impossible. She hadn't moved. We know when he fibs. There's a look he gets, and this wasn't it. She told him she'd seen me. She told him she'd been with me the whole time. He insisted again and again that she'd stood beside him by the sink, silent, just watching. He said that when he turned off the tap and reached for the towel, she was gone. He even asked me to confirm she'd left with him. I couldn't lie. I told him gently that he'd gone alone. His face went pale. Fear and confusion clouded his eyes. He knows what he saw. This isn't the first odd thing to happen in our house. He once described a person I'd seen years before. We're used to weirdness, but he'd never seen someone who looked exactly like his mother. Kids are more open to things we don't see, and I believe him. Has anyone else had a child claim something similar? Have you dealt with doppelgangers in your own family? I'm posting here at 2 a.m. because it's unsettling. Any stories or insight would help. Archival note. Anonymous account logged for pattern analysis. Apparition matches characteristics of the silent double phenomenon noted in NF-283 and NF-309. Cross-reference with reports of familial doppelgangers and child witnesses. End log.